Hello, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. It's technically Hell Week because
It's a girl or a boy.
And Brandon delivers the news in a very unique
there's a
possibility.
few more options.
Just relax. Just relax. Like and subscribe. Enjoy.
There you go. Sing.
I was
Yep.
hanging with the fellas. Saw you with your new boyfriend and made me jealous. Hoping
that
I'll
I'd
never see you with him. But it's all good because I'm glad that I met him. I know the competition's very slim tonight, and I can tell by looking that he's not the one. He's not the type you say like his style's whack, clothes is bad. Come on, girl.
Who are y'all playing this weekend?
We play this weekend.
Oh, yeah. What?
What's wrong with you?
I think, I just got to, I don't know. My brain's just.
Call me a hater if you want to.
It is kind of a pretzel for this show because we're not mad at each other right now, but we have to. It is Hell Week.
Well, traditionally and annually, we get mad at each other after the game.
That's true. It's a good point.
So next week is
and
a key
also,
part in our relationship.
You could wake up on Saturday, maybe the pregnancy hormones are going.
I hope so. I've been waking up on Saturday sluggish recently.
He is carrying the child.
Do you think he'll get, when the husband...
Sympathy weight.
No, I was saying sympathy pregnancy.
I got that before.
What's the phantom pregnancy thing?
Oh, I don't know.
That's
I've
I've never heard of that, but I would believe it.
There's some technical name for that. But guys, boyfriends, husbands will get that of pregnant women. Like sympathy, whatever.
Like they'll have back pains and stuff?
Yeah.
The mind is a fascinating thing.
It is.
You know, on the first one, I was there holding her hand through the whole thing, and by the fourth one, I just gave her a high five 20 minutes after. That was it.
I don't believe that for a second.
She would not let me in for the fourth one. She said, "You just go rest. I'll take care of it." I'm like, good.
That's
thanks.
a good woman right there.
That is a good woman. She is a good woman for dealing with you.
She took care of it, too.
Yeah, she did.
Gave birth to all four of my kids. Thomas and Cletus and Jebediah.
What's happening?
What are the other name of the Simpsons?
I was going to say, what's a funny girl's name? I don't know any. Casey. Bertha, yes. Little Bertha. Bertha Jane.
Agnes.
Little Bertha Jane Walker. All right. How long have we been going?
Jack has a clock right there.
2 minutes and 12 seconds we've been going for.
Fantastic. Y'all ready to start the podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so ready.
Hi, welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast, brought to you by the good folks at High Noon Hard Seltzer. They got the cranberry, the pear, the tailgate pack is what you need, whether you're watching games on your couch, or you're going to a buddy's, or you're tailgating at the game. High Noon has the best tailgate pack in the country. Hi, Kayce.
Hi, the High Noon, or some of the High Noon reps are in the office today.
Yes, and one of them, I assume it was one of the big bosses because he was first in the delegation. He poked his head in here before you got here, and he's like, "Hey, you have a tailgate pack?" And I said, "Yes, thank you, sir." I don't know why I thanked him.
Well, technically, he
it's his
might
company.
have brought
That's
you.
true.
Yeah.
So there you go.
You can tell the difference between the high up people and the people that are like us, that are just the normal people of the company. The high up people are wearing sports coats. And they're a little bit dressed up.
They care about their appearance.
The other guys are wearing just High Noon, T-shirts, drinking High Noon. That's how you know the difference. But they are here. We love High Noon.
High Noon is the best. Again, everywhere in the country, check it out. It's fantastic. Yeah, this isn't even in the South it's big, in the North it's big, in the Midwest it's big. It's big everywhere.
I think they have them in Canada now.
Canada.
Would not be surprised.
I believe
Canada's the top 3 country in North America.
That is actually factually correct, yes.
Probably third, but yeah.
Still top 3, comfortably, I would say.
Yeah, comfortably top
Way
3.
ahead of number 4. All right, it is college football. We're talking college football this weekend. It is week number 5. We are looking forward. You don't think they understood what 5 meant when I said it out of my mouth?
He was just being expressive.
I was just being expressive.
Okay, all right.
Also, there's a big announcement today.
Later on in the show, at some point, I have concocted a newfangled way to
that was a tongue twister there.
To do a gender reveal for Kayce Smith.
The baby.
Oh yes, we know what you are. Yes. Or we,
yes. I will.
For Kayce Smith's baby.
It was very funny that obviously, if you know the situation, your tweet, people knew you were talking about the baby.
Right.
But you didn't put that in there, so it was
it's going to be a gender reveal for you.
Yeah, I was I was going to take my pants off and prove that I have a vagina.
It's about time.
Some Michigan State fans were saying, "Oh, is this gender reveal going to be for Jack Mac?" I don't even know what that shirt means.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. That's pretty funny though. If it means what I think it means.
I think they're saying I'm a girl.
That's funny though.
Yeah.
But you don't identify as a girl, so.
And maybe I will one day. You never know.
Well, goals. Okay, so we have the gender reveal coming up very, very soon. It's I'm just going to drop it in somewhere during this episode.
Yeah.
And so Kayce, I don't know if Kayce wants to pretend like this was her plan all along, but we might have accidentally revealed it on the college football show coming out.
I was going to explain that. Yeah. So whenever you decide you want to get to that, I was going to say transition, and I feel like that's just not a thing I should say in the middle of this. Whenever you would like to get to that part, I will explain why we're doing it the way we're doing it.
Yes, of course.
Because there is a backstory, as there usually is at this company.
So it is week 5. It's one of the better weeks we have. Is that really how your notes start?
Well, that's
focus.
Okay, sorry.
That's in the description. I wrote week 5 preview. We are ready to roll.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Don't look at his computer.
I'm not going to look at his computer, but come on. What are we doing? Anyway, me and Jack know what he wrote. Doesn't matter. We're going to announce that sometime during the show. But it's week 5, and it's a huge week. 5 ranked-on-ranked matchups.
Yep.
Again, I saw a tweet the other day. It's the most since 2017, ranked versus ranked.
Which is crazy.
The most in 5 years. But 5's a lot.
That's a lot.
It is.
And there's also a couple of ranked teams playing unranked teams that
matter.
That face a stiff test this weekend, too.
In fact, whenever we ranked the ranked matchups for this weekend, we left a ranked on ranked off for Oklahoma TCU, which is not a ranked matchup.
Yeah.
However, I do think that it is
be
more important. I agree, Jack.
Well, and Mississippi State plays A&M in a ranked versus unranked matchup.
That is true.
Michigan, Iowa could easily be ranked. I know Iowa's not played great, but they only lost Iowa State by 3.
There's a lot of little key matchups out there. Even below your Clemson-NC State, there's a lot of sneaky big-time conference games this weekend. Like Michigan at Iowa is one that we assume Michigan cruises, but maybe not.
Wait, Washington at UCLA on Friday night.
Yep,
that should be a ranked matchup in my opinion.
Yep, the Big 12 is full of important games this week, so it is a great slate of football that we're going to get to in a little bit. Obviously, Clemson-NC State leads it off. Alabama-Arkansas is a big one.
Ole Miss,
Kentucky in a game of 2 fraud top 15 teams. Oklahoma State-Baylor, sure. Now, before I get to that, I had an assignment that I had to do, Kayce Smith. Every week I have to come up with a top 10 for our socials.
Yes, you do.
And it's been top 10 helmets one week, rivalries, stadiums I believe I did. And now this week, the top 10 I came up with was the best quarterbacks of the last 20 years of college football. And that comes out sometime today. So after it'll come out before the show comes out. Anyway. So that's my top 10 list right here. Yes, it is.
No, it's going to come out tomorrow morning.
I thought it came out on Thursday.
It's all right. It won't ruin that much.
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, doesn't matter. Here's my top 10 quarterbacks of the last 20 years. I'll read it off, and then I want you to tell me where I got it right or wrong, okay?
Okay.
Number 1, I have Cam Newton, Auburn Tigers. Number 2, best quarterbacks of the last 20 years, Joe Burrow, LSU. Number 3, Tim Tebow, Florida. Number 4, Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M. Just realized my top 4 are all SEC guys, but I still stand behind all those guys. Number 5, Vince Young, Texas. Number 6, Jameis Winston. People forget how good Jameis Winston was in college.
He was so good, man.
Number 7, Deshaun Watson at Clemson. Number 8, Lamar Jackson. Number 9, Matt Leinart, USC. And number 10, RG3.
I mean, it's hard to disagree with this because you're obviously playing all the hits with all the names.
Yeah. Well, here's a
Cam Newton is for sure number 1. There's no doubt with that.
I think Joe could make an argument.
He could, for me though, if I was gonna rank it,
I know Tebow can too.
I think the top 3 is pretty solid.
The top 3, and I can, if you are an LSU fan or if you're a Florida fan, I can see how you could make the argument to you. All 3 of those solid. I would probably put RG3 higher. The issue is then you say where would you put him? I would move him up at 6 and then just put everybody else. I'd say Vince Young, then Robert Griffin. Jameis was so good.
He was remarkably good.
And
yes.
a lot of it's overshadowed, I think, the narrative because of his off-the-field stuff.
Yeah.
But if you talk about just purely as a quarterback, and then Deshaun Watson, too. I mean, the way that he played, I know he didn't win the Heisman, but,
now,
he should have.
A couple that I left off that could have claim to this list, and Jack, I wonder if you'll say, Baker Mayfield is certainly an incredible college quarterback that was not on the list. Marcus Mariota, 2014 Heisman winner, not on the list. And then Trevor Lawrence, I think, could have made the list. That was pretty much, those are 3 that came to my mind. Again, Drew Brees and Michael Vick not in the last 20 years. I went 20 years. So I couldn't do those two.
You so no to Tua?
Tua's weird.
Mm-hmm.
What about Kyler?
I was going to say Kyler too.
After Tua won that national title as a freshman, I thought, okay, well, Tua's winning at least one Heisman. And then he didn't. Neither him or Trevor Lawrence won a Heisman.
I know what you're saying.
Pretty shocking.
Trevor Lawrence is even more shocking because he was like the golden child. I know Tua was obviously like game-changing for Alabama, and he was a different type of quarterback, but you think about how much we talked about Trevor Lawrence and for how long it was like he is the number 1 overall draft pick. For him not to win a Heisman's crazy. But you have Kyler would definitely have to be in consideration for top
consideration.
10.
Sure, yeah. I just don't know if I don't think Kyler is a better quarterback than any of these guys. RG3 or Matt Leinart, Lamar Jackson. There's
so many good quarterbacks.
There's a lot we probably left off the list.
Palmer was pretty good.
Yeah, Palmer was the 2002 Heisman. I guess I go back to the 2003 season. I don't know why, but Palmer was good. There were other good players. Dak Prescott, of course, fantastic college football player, led Mississippi State to number 1 in the nation in 2014. I don't know if y'all heard of him.
Oh, Pat White has a good.
Pat White, again, that was another one that I thought about. Brady Quinn, no. Colt McCoy, no.
Yeah, this is
Colt Brennan.
I think you can definitely.
Jason White was really good, but he was just
He's not as good as that list.
He's also. I guess his time.
He won the 03 Heisman.
Yeah, so it's close to 10 years. That's what's crazy is when you think about that. Like those guys are almost aged out of this conversation, which is.
I think you could put Colt McCoy. He was so good.
Where would you put him, though? Like, on this list, who would you take off to put Colt McCoy? He was good. I don't disagree with that. The issue with all of these guys on here,
they've won Heismans.
If Colt McCoy didn't get hurt and won that national title game, would he be a no-doubt, like, top 5 guy?
I think so. Colt McCoy, if you go back and look at his stats, man, it's shocking how good he was.
I wouldn't put him higher than Vince Young.
I think I don't know, man. I know people are going to get mad at this because he didn't win a national championship, but Colt McCoy's stats blow Vince Young's stats out of the water.
That is true.
And he did it for 4 years.
I just think
Vince has the iconic.
I know,
the electricity of being. Vince Young is.
I don't mind this list at all. I would definitely not put Vince or Colt ahead of Vince, but Colt's stats. But then it's like, who are you going to put him over? RG3, Matt Leinart, Lamar,
well, that's
Deshaun?
What I'm saying. When you said top 5, like if he won the national title, and then you look at, obviously, Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, Tim Tebow, they stay there. Mm-hmm. Do you drop Johnny out of it to put Colton? Do you drop Vince Young?
I drop none of those out.
Right, so he wouldn't be a top 5 regardless.
Maybe Johnny, but probably not. All right, so there's my top 10 list. I expect that one to get a pretty good bit of run.
Yeah, I don't. But the thing is like unless it's the quarterback that
I'm going to
played
admit
for your
something.
school.
I put RG3 on the list pretty much solely because I know he'll tweet it.
Who do you think will be?
He will absolutely.
He's also a top 10 quarterback.
He is, but he will absolutely interact with this tweet.
Who would you have had there outside of him? Some of those names you already brought up.
Yeah, outside of the ones already brought up.
Baker.
So I would Mariota would probably be 11 for me.
Okay.
Mariota got to a championship game, won a Heisman. Like he was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So he would have been my 11 probably. He's probably my one guy that's right outside the list.
Yeah, he's.
I think some people are going to be mad that Baker's not on it, and I think rightfully so.
But Oklahoma fans are mad about everything anyway.
Yeah,
why do I care?
Well, OU fans will be mad that there's not Kyler or Baker. Marcus Mariota, yes, he unbelievable at playing quarterback in college, but these to me, and I guess you can make the argument that maybe not as much as RG3, but he wasn't as iconic to me. Unless you're an Oregon fan, then totally understandable. And yes, he's obviously playing in the league now, so we talk about him a lot. But I don't feel like you're going to get a lot of pushback other than from probably OU fans on this. Maybe that people will push back on it, they think Joe Burrow should be number 1 or Tim Tebow should be number 1. But you can't argue that these 10 guys are iconically good college football quarterbacks.
Yep, it's been a good couple of decades for quarterbacks and for college football in general. Okay, so let's go through the news, and then we will what's going on out there?
Explain to people what you're seeing.
So this is a tweet from Kyle Umlang, who is a Texas fan whose entire online persona is talking about Texas A&M. Is that correct?
It is correct. Listen.
This is fine. They're a cult. You can do that.
It is one of those things where I'm never going to discredit somebody for making a name for themselves on social media. That's what we do at Barstool. However, it is very tough whenever Texas fans are like, we don't care about A&M. A&M is the only they only talk about us. And then you have a guy who is a Texas fan, I assume graduated from Texas, and his entire Twitter account is just talking about A&M. Like, you can't, at least own it.
And the tweet is, he's talking about they have 5 yell leaders. They have more yell leaders than national championships, Big 12 titles, and SEC titles combined.
That is a fact.
And the picture he used was me leading the yell leaders, which actually, it's a well-played meme by him, but still.
So, it says they have 5 yell leaders, ... And then he does this Aggie Fact Thursday. And if you were just scrolling through Twitter, you would just see this and be like, all right, this kid's at it again. But if you take a second and look at it, you are the head yell leader.
I look like I fit, too. I could have been a
good
leader.
Photoshop job.
I could have been a good yell leader.
Fantastic.
20 years ago, if I were in shape, huh?
You said you're standing under the century
They
tree.
looked photoshopped in, too.
Tree?
That's a tree on A&M's campus. That's that tree. It's very iconic.
They probably are.
They look photoshopped in.
Well, Brandon looks like he belongs until you really look at how shitty his outfit is in comparison to the real thing.
Yeah, because the Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think I got
and the
mine
belt, and you can see.
I think we ironed on the Texas A&M logo to a silk.
Spider did.
Yeah,
Spider definitely did. You can tell, but it's a great troll job for sure.
We're not, and once again, we have announcement. Kayce and I have gotten through the college football show talking about Mississippi State A&M without making a bet.
Dan tried.
He tried. He gave it a shot. He tried to turn us against each other. But unlike my coworker who did it to me, I did not do it to her.
You keep bringing that up. I've given you permission. That's also old shit. That's multiple years old.
Yeah, you're right. But we stood together.
We did.
We stood together.
I said on the show, and I'll say it again, that I would accept you going behind my back because it is payback. However, I'm just not mad at you right now. I'm just not trying to rile that up. So, if my fate comes to me,
doing like a brutal bet against a pregnant woman, it's just like you're going to lose no matter
what.
You're just going to lose no matter what.
It's not a good look.
You're not from Arkansas. You don't make fun of pregnant people.
Oh yeah, that was your arguments with, or not even arguments. Arkansas's continued obsession of you continued past last episode, where an Arkansas fan said that you don't know the father of your kid, which is quite literally the opposite of true because it's Brandon Walker.
Right. I loved your response. I loved your response to it. No,
everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Quite literally everyone. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because it doesn't really, it's just old news at this point. Do you know how down bad you have to be as a human being about sports to then attack an unborn kid? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what I said. I was like, I have never seen anything like this fan base meltdown towards me. But thank you for the engagement, I guess. But get it together. I actually did have my friends who went to Arkansas reach out to me and be like, okay, we were kind of laughing at the back and forth, this has gone too far. It's I think most people that go to Arkansas that have brains know that's not.
Both of them.
That's not the line you cross. But everyone knows Brandon's the father.
Yes.
It's true. And that's why I will be revealing the gender of the baby right after we talk about a couple more things. So
he's so proud of this.
I am. Well, I kept the secret at first, so I get to.
You have done a very good job at keeping very many secrets at this company.
I'm a terrific friend.
People
don't say that enough.
People don't realize how kind of sappy you are.
I know something very secret about Katie and about you, and I know something very secret about Jack, and I know something that Noah doesn't want anybody to know.
What do you know about me?
You know what's so funny is all three of them all kind of made the same face of no, he doesn't. I was like, oh yeah, probably, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
I was like, yeah, no, you definitely know a lot about me that I would prefer not be out there on the internet. All three of them were like, I don't think so.
Jack, you sure you want me to tell people about you?
I actually don't. No, don't do it.
He has a.
No. We'll do
that.
He
has a Biden-Harris sticker on his Prius.
No. We'll do that. No.
He has a.
No. That's not true. Hopefully, Noah can turn up my audio when you were talking and turn yours down in the post edit.
It's just right on the back of his Prius. Biden-Harris, right next to his Hope and Change sticker from many years ago.
With with our known ally, North Korea.
I don't want to talk about politics. It's just
I
too
don't
much.
either. Anyway, so it is. There's more news here. We got Tennessee, who's planning to checkerboard Vanderbilt when they go there. Now, here is how. You ever do a wellness check on somebody, or you got to check? This is how you know Tennessee fans feel like they're starting to come out of it.
Okay,
when Tennessee starts doing this dumb shit of photoshopping Vanderbilt's stadium layout with the orange and white checkerboard.
I like this.
When they start punching down at little Vandy, and they start standing and back up, they're like a little 6-year-old kid who's stuffed their 4-year-old kid down. They just stand up and they're like, "Oh, look at us now." That's what Tennessee is. They're finally getting it. Yes?
No, it's just funny because somebody asked me recently. I was actually TJ.
Yeah.
He asked, like, "Oh, is there another interstate rivalry that's so, like, top and bottom?"
Yeah.
But over the past 10 years,
it's been bottom and bottom.
They're 5-5.
Yeah.
It's 5-5 over the past 10 or so years, which is quite frankly shocking and pathetic for Tennessee.
Really shocking, but you can see they're starting to come out of it, and they plan to checkerboard Nashville.
You said like a 6-year-old kid and a 4-year-old kid. The way I see it this year, it's like the adult that goes out to play pickup basketball with like a lot of younger kids and just like blocks the shit out of the ball,
takes
like
it super
swats
seriously.
it.
Yeah,
yes, and it's not as a joke. It's not funny. Like then he starts like beating his chest. Also, I mean, you've been to Vanderbilt Stadium, right?
I have. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, yes, the checker is going to be funny for, like, right now we're talking about it. It's going to be funny for, like, a picture.
Yeah.
There's nothing that you can do to make that stadium atmosphere worse for Vanderbilt. It's just bad.
This is absolutely Tennessee just punching down now that they finally feel like they've got a little leg up.
Did you see Big T's tweet?
What did he say?
He said it's going to be so funny going to Nashville, checkering their home stadium when we're 10-1 in November and beat them 54-6.
So
yep,
he's gone past 9-3. He sat here and said, "Y'all better pray we don't go 9-3 and get Ayamaleva."
Yeah,
and now it's 10-1.
10-1, and they're going to win 54-6.
Now, wait a minute. Time out. If I'm doing my math correctly, they play Vanderbilt at the end of the season. If they're 10-1, that means they beat Alabama or they beat Georgia.
Yep.
Not both, so he's being very conservative.
Yes.
But one of them.
Yes, and they still have to play Kentucky.
At LSU as well.
And at LSU. Yeah. So, there it is. 10-1 Tennessee, checkering the artist formerly known as Vanderbilt Stadium to witness a 54-6 victory is going to be an all-time.
An all-timer?
If you think about it, like Tennessee fans dominating Vanderbilt Stadium, which is in Nashville, the capital of Tennessee.
I know.
That's where the most Tennessee fans on earth are living right now is Nashville. So it's not really that impressive.
That's what I'm saying. It's not impressive. Nothing about changing Vanderbilt's stadium game day atmosphere is going to make it any worse for Vanderbilt.
It'll be funny.
It'll be funny from a social media point, yes. But also, Big T saying it's going to be an all-timer.
Also, 10-1. Well, also,
we didn't mention a couple weeks ago, we did like traditions or something. Where's the orange and white checkerboard end zone rank for you as far as college football goes?
It's cool. I think it's
cool.
People are acting like it's this new thing. Like, oh my God, the checkers.
I mean, kneeling is very cool. And like you look at the videos when they are checkered, it's great. But a lot of major schools they don't do the checker necessarily, but a lot of schools do whiteouts, blackouts, whatever color. Like I don't think it's that impressive to get people to wear a certain color when you're laying the shirts out.
How many teams
checker?
Kentucky probably does.
No, not that.
What were you going to say?
How many teams have an end zone?
Oh.
How many teams have unique end zones? Like Tennessee has the checkerboard. Notre Dame has the blank with the stripes, right?
Yep.
How many teams have not many have taken ownership of their uniform or their end zone?
I'm just going through.
Most of them are just team color /
with
name.
the logo.
Yeah, team color / name, stuff like that. Like Wisconsin Badgers, you could play with your end zone a little bit.
Oh, Florida State has good end zones always. They have Seminoles. I guess that's not really that great, but every team has their name in their end zones. But
Tennessee has checkerboard. Like Tennessee does something unique. So does Notre Dame. Nobody else really does it. I think that's college football. I think that's a spot we could exercise some more creativity going forward.
Oh,
look at Tennessee's end zone.
Tennessee's is very cool.
Wyoming has the mountains.
You were talking about the actual end zone.
Keep going. If that's 13, what are the others? Tar Heels.
It's a pretty blue.
Rice.
These are the best end zones?
Yes.
Ew.
Eastern Washington has a red field and black end zones.
Can we stop with trying anything other than a green field?
That's Central Arkansas, right? That's Eastern Michigan.
It is funny whenever you're flipping through channels and you come across an Eastern Michigan game for about 0.2 seconds, you're like, the color of my TV is gone.
I hate it.
That is true.
LSU, I like LSU's because it's
LSU has the flip, the infrared kind
colors.
of thing.
Yeah.
It's not even in their end zone anymore.
Go all the way to 1. I need to see who number 1 is. She's showing us a list.
Boise
of
State can.
the Rose Bowl. My ass. Come on.
Oh,
See,
well,
this is how.
Well, now listen.
It
here.
just all it does is take the dominant color for both teams and put them in the end
Casey
zone.
literally wrote this article, man.
She did.
I can tell you I didn't because Boise State would not be anywhere near my list.
Also,
Hell,
why is Florida
would
number
not be
3
it.
in best end zone? Is
Number
she Florida's
2.
end zone?
They're all.
What's the name of this?
She just
Yeah,
she
it's
wasn't going to show you
whatever,
Florida.
yeah.
She's
The top 25 field designs in college football ranked. Also,
It
if
is
we're talking about overall
design,
field
though.
designs, LSU's midfield is number
oh,
one.
they have the best midfield.
Yeah, I mean that's
We
crazy.
we got to dissect football stadiums and say who has the best what sometime. Best end zones, best 50-yard
best
line.
mid zone
Mid-year.
Tennessee,
Yeah,
best
Tennessee.
50-yard line LSU.
Yeah, correct. Both.
Best opposing matchup, the Rose Bowl.
You're doing it now. I see. Hi, that's what you're doing. And here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to tell you the next topic we're going to talk about.
Yep. Which is
That was a little Perd Hapley-ish, by the way. You ever watch Perd Hapley on?
where's Perd Hapley?
He's
from?
on Parks and Rec.
I've
And
never
he will
seen
always
Yes.
Parks and
he
Rec.
will always announce what he's about to do next.
Yes.
What I'm
And
about
I
to
saw
do next is ask you a question.
Fresno
Perd
has them.
Hapley. He's in the not the Congress. The
News
cities.
media. He's in the media.
Oh, Perd Hapley.
Perd Hapley's
Who was the guy who was in the? Who was
Jeremy
in,
Jam.
Jeremy Jam. I
Yeah.
saw recently on a Law and Order SVU, and he was like a sexual.
Jeremy Jam was?
Yeah, and it really threw me off that it was Jeremy Jam.
You know what's crazy about the casting of Parks and Rec?
What?
They had one of the councilmen was also on the West Wing.
Oh.
Yeah, and he had a West Wing Easter egg in his office in Parks and Rec. Yes.
Fresno State also checkers.
Yes, Fresno State. Looks like the Alpo logo. Alpo dog food.
Close enough.
Okay, y'all don't.
It does.
No, I know.
It does.
Yeah, no.
Nobody
I'm-
cared
I'm-
about that joke. I thought that was good.
Well, it
a
wasn't a
good
joke.
one.
It was a fact.
That is true.
How is your dog, by
I
the
miss
way?
him, Sam. You
Well,
think
it's
my
not
mama's
your
gonna get
dog
back to me?
anymore.
You're gonna call her again?
I'm
I
about
got-
to meet my dog tonight.
I got a.
Yeah, she got a puppy.
She got a puppy.
My parents did.
What kind of puppy?
It looks like an Australian Shepherd, but they're saying it's some American.
Well, that's
whatever.
profiling.
That's what I said.
How can somebody look Australian, Katie?
The braid.
It's very racist. I'm calling my mom.
Damn.
Oh, I forgot to pay
Damn,
my
she's-
bill.
damn.
I forgot to pay my bill. Hold on. I gotta go pay my bill.
That's what that was.
Yes.
No.
I
It
think
was.
so. Or she got to go pay her bill.
I think it's her.
You called
Let
her
me- let
earlier
me see.
asking her.
You can call via Wi-Fi if you turn on Wi-Fi.
Let me see. Let's see if it's yours. I can tell you if it's yours.
It might be mine. Well, don't put it in the podcast if I hadn't paid my bill yet.
Well,
It's
you've
due
already
on the
said
19th.
it.
What's today?
The 29th, and usually they give
It
you
should
10
be
days.
also automated. Do you not have it automated?
No, you're getting through. We're good. We're good.
Okay.
Hey,
Uh,
I'll pay it later.
Well, you paid it because
Oh, yeah, I guess my mom's got to pay her bill, though. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Brandon, did you know something that I know you don't have to deal with, but did you know that bald people are shaving their head wrong?
No, I did not know that.
I didn't either, but
I would never
apparently-
know that because I have a luscious head of hair.
You do. Fantastic hair. Everybody on this podcast has great hair.
Yep.
However, bald people are shaving their head wrong.
damn, I didn't know this.
I didn't know this either, but guess who does know it? Our new friends, Freedom Grooming.
Yes, they do. You know why they're shaving their head wrong? They're using the same multi-blade razor that they also use on their face. But
Gross.
razors were designed to shave flat surfaces, not curved domes.
Your
like
head is in
beautiful
fact
hair.
curved.
Interesting.
Avoid painful nicks, cuts, and irritation by getting a shaver actually designed for your head. That's why bald head shavers need the Flex Series electric rotary shaver from Freedom Grooming.
Yeah, no, it is a good point because it's like when you're shaving with a razor that's used for your legs.
Yes.
Guys use it for their face sometimes, which I don't understand.
That is the
Not
worst
good.
hell that you can put yourself through
Yes.
as a man.
So I can imagine if you're doing it on your
If
head.
you have ever, Jack, you're not married. If you have ever said, okay, well, I'm out of razors. Here's my wife's. I'll just pick it up and I'll put it on my face. It's like
No.
shaving with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know what y'all be doing with them things.
Well, your legs are different than your face, turns out. And you know what? Your face is different than your head.
That's true.
That is a fact. So
With 5 rotary blades that individually flex to the head's curvature, you'll get the closest shave of your life in minutes. Plus, when compared to traditional manual razors, the Flex Series shaves 50% more hair in a single stroke.
that's huge. And your head is also a big surface. So you want to get that baby done fast. Thank you to Freedom Grooming. They're making holidays easier, Brandon.
For the holidays, birthdays, or just because, get yourself the best shaver of your life. Freedom is giving our listeners an exclusive discount. Go to freedomgrooming.com. Oh, look at you.
I don't think I'll ever have to shave my head.
I don't know
but
why
you know
you got
hey,
this one. Freedomgrooming.com/Kayce. It's not even a code. You go to freedomgrooming.com/Kayce.
Kayce.
For 20% off. Again, that's freedomgrooming.com/Kayce. Should I do it right here?
Nah, we should go through some games.
Let's go through some games.
Let's talk about NC State Clemson.
Let's go through the biggest games.
Shall we?
Through the biggest games, all right? Because there are 5 ranked-on-ranked matchups.
Yes, there are.
And there are, let's just rip the Band-Aid off, talk about ours real quick, and then we'll get to those. I don't want to talk about ours long because it ain't about that. It's about the national college football scene.
Okay.
Do you feel good coming to Starkville? Because I feel pretty good. And I felt terrible going to College Station last year, and we won the game.
I feel, and this is not an answer, and I got a lot of people saying, like, you need to ramp up the hate. I feel 70% confident, which is not horrible.
Well, something's got to give because I'm like 90% confident.
That's where it's going to change. So, like, as of right now on Thursday evening, whatever time it is, I'm feeling 70% confident. Now, if this was at Kyle Field, wildly more confident.
Would like to point out we won last year at Kyle Field.
And we won the year before in Starkville.
Didn't count. First year of Mike Leach, COVID.
I forgot about
You
COVID.
had to drive 17
We were
hours.
there. There was only like 30% attendance there.
Will Rogers makes me very nervous.
He should. He's very, very good.
But-
And he was bad against LSU, so I hopefully that doesn't repeat.
But also,
But-
why is Haynes King there?
He's still the leader in passing yards because
So
Max
that's what that
Jones.
is. Oh, so that's why that's there. Okay. I'm feeling 70% confident. I will say this, that by the time I show up in New Jersey on Saturday, I will be probably 98% confident.
Good.
And I will hate you with every fiber of my being solely because I know I'm going to have to listen to those terrible cowbells for 5 hours of my life.
Surely is. You sure are going to have to
You're
do
going to scare
that.
my kid, you asshole.
Oh, don't do that. You can't bring that lovely young daughter or perhaps majestic son into this mix. You can't do it.
I can. I technically can. Please, you use it as an excuse for you half the time.
Well, you know,
Never forget
It
we
was
were in,
hard. It's hard.
Sympathetic pregnancy.
just relax.
That's true. No, that's
Just
true.
relax one time.
No, this game,
We will do the bulk of our talking about this game after this game.
yes.
Because-
Well, we'll do the bulk of it probably talking about
During
watching
it,
it,
yeah.
yes. Both of us being 3-1, obviously our loss much worse than yours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Miami stinks. I'm looking at Arkansas. A&M deserved to win that game. However, there are obviously some crazy things going into it, which, Brandon Walker, makes me believe that we're going to go in and beat you, not easily, but it makes me feel like I'm taking A&M money line, no question.
Do what you got to do. Do what you got to do,
something,
Playboy.
everything that is being talked about right now, it's like, well, look at all the reasons to pick Mississippi State and not A&M. It's like that to me screams pick A&M.
Fair enough. Good luck to you. We'll see you on the other side. But
The spread makes me lean Mississippi State.
the spread's a very
Weird.
Mississippi State spread
Yeah.
because A&M's number 17 team in the country, and Mississippi State's favored by 4 at home, which indicates they'd be favored on a neutral site. So it is, in fact, I haven't had a lot to get excited about. We have 3 nobody wins, and then we lost to LSU. So this is my first chance to really get into the college football season. If we win this game, I'm in the mix.
Oh, definitely.
I'm in the mix.
Definitely. It's and also it's our podcast rivalry, so we have to be excited
We
regardless.
just got to make it through next week, man. Once we make it through that one
Your
post week,
witching
we're
week.
fine.
Yeah, your witching week. Will Rogers makes me nervous, like I said. I think that A&M's offense is just going to keep getting better. But it being a middle of the day game too, I don't necessarily like. Like I'd kind of wish the Band-Aid would just be ripped off. But
So the biggest game of the week happens in South Carolina, in Clemson, South Carolina, specifically where NC State comes visiting the Clemson Tigers. Now, I have a little theory. This is bigger than these two teams right now. Not even a theory, but just something I've noticed. Gigantic week in the ACC with this game and another huge game down in Tallahassee with Wake Forest against Florida State. These two teams, Clemson and NC State, are on top of the ACC right now, but Florida State with a win over Wake Forest would absolutely possibly make that a 3-team party. So there are conferences lining up. You can already see the outlines of them and what they're going to be. The Big 12 is just a race to see who can lose the least, I feel like. But it's very interesting. The ACC is also remarkably interesting because I think Wake Forest is a very good team. They lost to Clemson last week. They play a Florida State who's undefeated, and then Clemson and NC State. Any of those four could be top 10 teams at the end of the season. I really like this weekend for the ACC.
I do too, and just from an overall narrative of that conference is that Clemson has always in these conversations we've had since starting the podcast together, it's been like, well, yeah, it's Clemson. I mean, we know they might have like a slip up game or might almost lose, but it's going to be Clemson. The fact that you can name those four, and also when you look at Clemson and we talk about the defense and you talk about how DJ Uiagalelei has gotten better, has progressed. The fact that it's 7 points still, like that to me is like, I mean, NC State's defense is good. They're a top 10 team,
and
it's not a 3-point favorite. It's not a 2.5. It's not close to a pick 'em. It's straight up 7 points, and that to me says like, well,
I'm gonna tell you why I think that is. I think, getting into these big time games once every now and then is what most teams do, and that's what NC State is doing. They're playing in a gigantic game where the lights be bright. Clemson's in this game all the time.
Right.
To prove you matter in the ACC, you have to go up against Clemson in a big time spotlight game. Clemson is in these spotlight games, these playoff games all the time. This is nothing new for them. So I feel like them coming from a place of experience and NC State coming, this is huge for their program, but they do not get in games like this very often.
And historically, NC State is a team that will come up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Not the team that you see coming and has a lot of hype behind them.
Right.
And that's and we have someone that went to NC State that works with us, Quiggs, and he was saying that, hey, this is not the season.
This isn't their environment.
The season where you think you're going to be good is not when it's a great NC State season. And as Katie's shaking her head, which is true because she knows as being one of her biggest rivals. Now, this being said, the total right now is 43, and it may have changed, but I think it's going to be like a slugfest in the rain. And in the trenches, I think Clemson does have a little bit of an edge.
Yeah. They have an edge over everybody, especially with that defensive line. Offensive line's just okay though. So, and NC State has a very good defense. That's what I'm looking at on Saturday. That's my weather on Saturday right there, Katie.
Yeah.
That
looks like it's rain.
That looks like the hurricane's just dead over the top of South Carolina, or the eye of the former hurricane.
That says Thursday.
Oh,
yes,
is that where Ian is right now?
Yeah, that's where Ian is right now.
Yeah, it's a
that's
right
72-hour future radar.
Yeah. So exactly.
Go down.
It's locked.
Oh, it's locked because you have to go premium. Of course.
I love
the Weather
radars.
Channel is premium.
Of course. They got to sell a premium service.
They should be able to give me my radar free of charge.
Yeah,
I would like, what if I'm about to die and I don't have my credit card on me? I can't pay the premium.
I feel like the Weather Channel's got to be one of those places not to have a paywall.
AccuWeather's so much better anyway.
Do you think Weather Channel is a terrific place to work or an awful place to work? Because I go back and forth. I feel like it could be super stressful, but then I feel like it would be like, that's what these people live for.
Some people are obsessed with modeling the weather. Mm-hmm. Quiggs even told me this week that his plan for retirement is he makes enough money and then he just models weather for the rest of his life. He's just obsessed with it.
There was a part of my life where probably I was 15 years old. I thought I wanted to be a weatherman.
You would be a good weatherman.
I would be a good weatherman. I would love.
You have to get a fatter ass though, so whenever you turn to the side to point, then
that's true.
I prefer not to sexualize my weather, man or woman.
I'd have to get a Brazilian butt lift.
Yes.
Another one.
And the first one didn't take. Question for you. So you're talking about why you think the spread right now is 7. What if this was at NC State?
Oh, I think it's almost a pick 'em. I really think NC State is a terrific team, and Clemson. We're going to find out the truth about Clemson. Right now, I lean towards the fact that they're really good, and that win over Wake Forest was impressive because Wake Forest is good. Wake Forest goes to Florida State this week, gets beat by 14, and Clemson loses this game. Like, oh, well, that was wrong. So we will absolutely see. I don't know, man. I think Clemson is battle tested and weathered and been there, and DJ playing the way he did last week is such a big deal for that team.
It really is.
Such a big deal.
By the way, shout out DJ. He followed me on Twitter. We're boys now.
If they won that game at Wake,
I believed in him.
If they won that game at Wake Forest 21-16 and he had 2 interceptions and 150 yards, like they would still have, even though they won, they would still have these gigantic problems and still have these whispers. The fact that he went off for 371 yards and 5 touchdowns and scored 51 points.
Ran for 52 too.
Really helps him in the fan base, which helps him in the eyes of college football, which helps him go into this game.
And the confidence too around it. It's a beaten horse at this point, but just I can't imagine being, Clemson has been at the top of college football for a long time. And then being the guy that follows Trevor Lawrence, the golden child, you get one chance when Trevor's not there because of COVID. You play really well, and then have the just absolute.
Remember Trevor had COVID, and they brought him to the game in Notre Dame. That was
Yes.
so
yes,
funny.
yeah.
Looking
Yes.
back on it, doesn't matter because we learned more. But at the time, that was just so funny.
It was
that they
just
did
like,
that.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
But just like the trajectory of where people thought his career at Clemson was going to go versus where it did, this is really good for him. I do think, and we talked about this last episode, I do think it comes down to we have too high of expectations for Clemson sometimes because we expect them to be blowing teams out. They're still one of the top 10 teams in the country. This is going to be huge. And I think if DJ can take the next step, which I mean, obviously having a 371-yard day, 5 touchdowns, I mean, how much crazier do you need to be? But taking it to beat a better defense because NC State's defense is better than Wake's.
Yeah, and this is a clear chance for Devin Leary, who came in as one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks in the country. He's been fine so far. He's got 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but he hasn't, really been the superstar. But if he were able to go into Clemson and win the biggest game in NC State recent football history,
boy.
Devin Leary becomes a bigger name nationally, becomes a bigger star nationally. That team takes a ramp up and really moves. They level up is what they do for the rest of the season because whoever comes out of this is the odds-on favorite to win the ACC.
Yes.
And if they're able to run the table, they would be right in the playoff mix.
And to do it at night at Tiger Stadium.
It would be gigantic. It would be the biggest win in recent NC State history, bar none, and maybe the biggest win in NC State history. I can't say I know Wolfpack history all that well. I know they've beaten Florida State when they were ranked number 1 a couple times. But it's a program with decent history, and this would be gigantic for them. So
Are you taking Clemson though?
I think yes. I think Clemson's kind of going to handle business. What do you think?
I think I'll be on NC State plus the points.
Really?
I don't know.
You think it's a close game down there? I mean, you know what it screams to me? Like, it screams to me a game where the lights are really bright at first and NC State shoots itself in the foot and falls behind like 14-0, 21-0. And then you'll see a moment in the second quarter where they realize, we can play with these guys. They'll end up losing like 35-20 or 35-27 when they didn't have time to come back. But I feel like Clemson could shock them at the beginning.
Yeah, I'm high on Clemson, but this game gives me a feeling of a 24-20 slugfest. DJ makes some plays when he needs to, and NC State just falls a little short. It's just their history. It's who they are. And I hate to say that, but
I real quick before. Something about as an SEC fan when we do this show, I kind of enjoy when the biggest game of the week is certainly not an SEC game.
Absolutely.
I like when we can put the spotlight on like Clemson, Clemson, NC State, and this is a huge game.
That was so degrading to other schools.
I didn't mean for it to sound like that.
I'm going to take it even further, and I don't know if
it to sound like that.
It's okay. I love whenever it's not just the conference that my team plays in. And I know obviously our schools are playing each other, so we have to talk about it. I love when we can get through the slate of games and my school's not talked about.
I love that as well, yes.
It's nice.
And I do a much, much better job than anybody here. Jack talks about UConn all the time. You talk about Texas A&M. Katie goes on and on and on and on.
UConn's got Fresno State this weekend at the Rent. Our best player running back out for the season. We've had the worst injury luck ever. We stink.
See.
Do we think that what the DJ we saw versus Wake, is that the new DJ, that he's reached that level, stay there? Or do you think it's a one-off?
Well, I think it could be a little bit of both. I don't know if there's a 370-yard, 5-touchdown performance in him against NC State, but I do think there's probably enough confidence and good quarterback there to win a tough, gritty game right here.
Yes, that's the thing. It's like to take the next step is not necessarily have better stats, because it's hard to have better stats than that. I mean, you definitely can, but it would be just to maintain that level of play against a better defense, but also like having that confidence, and his team is excited.
Yeah.
Everybody's around him. I don't think if he falls backwards like horribly, issue. If he just keeps the status quo, he'll be fine.
Imagine the frustration you have to have within your fan base and within your coaching staff and within everybody involved in your football team. Imagine the frustration you would have if they went 10-2 last year and went to the Sugar Bowl, and then the very next year against a top 10 opponent, they had to have a 39-year-old idiot go on social media and say, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to be in there for 4 quarters in the student section. Imagine the frustration you would have to have for that to be the representation of your football program. I'm just talking out.
And
your
head coach, who's like, finally you have this great
the
personality.
First good head coach you've had didn't cheat in a while.
In a while. And he's just like, I Like it feels like when we run out there, it's a high school game.
I got my kids tweeting about a dog. I got.
That's okay.
I'm out here. I'm tweeting funny stuff about everything.
Yep.
I'm leading you to wins, and you guys can't give me the decency to come in out of the Grove and go to the game. I'm talking about Ole Miss and Kentucky, where Lane Kiffin had to beg his fans to come to the game.
Yeah, I'm not going to
got down on his knees and begged.
I'm not going to call Mincy an idiot. That's your thing.
I did not mean to.
Oh, really?
You did. It's okay. I'm not going to do that. However,
He also brought up his age when you were like the same age.
No,
he's older.
I tell you what, when I go to state games, I'm not sitting in the student section.
I see what you're You don't. Yeah,
I'm not sitting in the student section and saying, "Hey, everybody, come to the game, please," because I'm going to be
with
there.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. No. In fact, I would.
Let me say something about Mintz, because he is professionally, just. His mind, I don't know how it works. But somehow he has figured out this is a win-win situation for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Lane Kiffin just went on a press conference and got down on his knees and groveled and begged for the students to come and for people to come. So they're going to come, but Mincy got in behind that, and he's going to the student section and said, well, y'all better come. So now when they show up and it's full, Mincy did it.
Definitely.
He's smarter than you think.
Well, the thing about it is, it's like
so what he's going to do.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he's doing.
Yep.
Of course it is. And honestly, you can't hate the hustle. This is the thing about what Lane Kiffin did, which is, you're right. Like, let's take all the Ole Miss, Mississippi State hate aside, which is, I know is hard sometimes.
I like to think I'd hate them regardless. I believe I'm a good person.
Well, okay. The fact that they went 10-2 and had the best season in program history last year.
By the way.
And
it's kind of pathetic that they've only won 10 games.
Oh, definitely. No. It is. I mean, just in general. And this is coming from somebody who's not used to winning a whole bunch. But the fact that you don't have a full student section is eye-opening, because how many schools, and I know people are saying, look, well, college football attendance is down across the board. That might be true at some places. At some places, there is not a problem at all. We talked about.
If you're in the top 15, you can't have attendance issues.
That's the thing, is I saw somebody respond, I think, to the Unnecessary Roughness account and say, well, blame the playoff extension. It's like, what are you talking about? Mississippi or Ole Miss is a top 15 team. But Lane Kiffin played it in such a perfect way, because he didn't get all emotional about it. When he said it looks like a high school stadium, that is such a roast. Because how many times, when you're talking to somebody else, I mean, I've done it to you.
Yeah.
Like, playing in Starkville is like playing at a high school stadium in comparison to playing a college stadium.
That's not true at all. I mean, our stadium is very tall and it's beautiful and it's well appointed.
Sometimes bats are there.
No reason you have to take a shot at our stadium.
Well, I'm just saying, when you play in
God
front of 100.
God knows you haven't been able to win there.
Well, whenever you play in front of 110,000 people and you kind of cut that in half. But
we've done that. We've won at A&M. But
I know you have. But all jokes aside, that is a roast for any college football fan to hear. It's like, well,
and their
going
stadium,
to your stadium is like playing at a high school stadium.
And their stadium is a high school stadium. It's legitimately the worst looking stadium in the SEC. It looks like it was erected from the remains of 4 other stadiums.
No, see, I think Missouri's is worse.
No side of that stadium matches the other side.
That is true. It does look like it's all put together in a weird puzzle.
Yeah, they built it in 4 different parts.
But to say, with just very calm tone and say, you know what? When we walk out of the tunnel and our college football stadium looks like a high school game, that's tough.
That being said, I gotta watch this happen. Ole Miss is about to, I think, take care of Kentucky, and Ole Miss is going to become a fraud top 10 team, just like Kentucky's a fraud top 10 team right now. The truth of the matter is Ole Miss or Alabama and Georgia are elite in the SEC, and then you can go 3 through 12. And they're all the same. Only Vanderbilt and maybe Missouri are not in that group, in my opinion. Maybe South Carolina.
That's what I was saying. That
there's just a big glob of teams that can all beat each other.
Yeah, that's why I was saying that it feels like this is the best SEC we've seen in a while, but
it also feels like the worst.
I see when you said that, at first I was like, oh, I thought I was right, but then how you guys responded, then I thought about it a little bit more, and I saw some other things. I think the overall, if you were to look at the numbers, it's dropped down a little bit, but there's a little bit more parity. And I think Katie brought that up when I brought it up.
Yeah.
Now, this is a game that I think Ole Miss is going to win. However, Kentucky fans are getting cocky as fuck.
I've been telling you that.
I know. But they're to a point where they are, if you bring up anything about Will Levis, and if they win this game, they're I don't know.
If they win this game, sure, but I
know
just
what you're saying. Yeah.
Listen, Ole Miss hasn't played anybody, right? But I still think Ole Miss is a good team. I think they haven't had to be very good yet. They played Georgia Tech and Tulsa and Central Arkansas and Troy. That's nobody State. Excuse me. Kentucky coming off a 31-23 win over NIU, which isn't impressive, but I just don't see it out of Kentucky. Will Levis has had 3 good statistical games against 3 bad teams. Then against Florida, he was just okay. And in the second half, he was really, really bad. But their defense and their offensive line and their running backs came through.
That's the thing, though, with Kentucky. I do agree with you. I think Ole Miss is going to win. They're a tough team because, like, when we were coming into the season and we had Kentucky fans, all up in our mentions about where Will Levis was going to be, I feel like they were burying the lead about it not having to be a Will Levis-led team. This team is balanced. Everything that you just said tells me that Will Levis can just play average. He can play, subpar, and this team can still be good. However, I know they won 10 games, and every time we say like, oh, Ole Miss is waiting to prove something, it's not necessarily prove anything more than just like they are on paper as good as they were last year, if not better. And Lane Kiffin is a really good football coach.
Lane Kiffin's a top 15 coach in the country comfortably, and probably maybe a back end of the top 10 coach.
And when you look at we talk about
He's
Auburn.
He's a terrific coach, and I hate it. It bothers me tremendously.
I know you hate it, but it also is, it's like whenever Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin were both hired, it's like what state has a more entertaining like rivalry between 2 head coaches?
I mean, because look at I'm going to go a little further. What state has a more entertaining 3? Mm-hmm. There's Deion, Mike Leach, and Lane Kiffin. Yeah. And you can count on all 3 of them to give you something every now and then.
And now, I know Mike Leach is not being plucked away for jobs. By the way, we do need to say, ultimate brain fart for not thinking about Dan Mullen, but it's beside the point.
Last show we were talking about coaches who went from one conference inside the conference, one job to another inside the conference, and I couldn't think of who it was. It was Dan Mullen leaving Mississippi State.
Well, none of us did. And by the way, can I say this? Just side note. I hate the term brain fart. I'm really mad at myself for just saying that. It's not. I
don't
cute.
like brain fart, and I don't like butt hurt.
Or rent free.
Any of those, but
brain fart is gross.
You know what's taking over rent free?
What?
You do it for clicks.
You do it for clicks.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
do it for clicks. He knows if he riles us up. He knows if he riles the Colorado State fan base up, we're going to go crazy because we're the best fan base. Yes. No, just relax.
So let me rephrase that because I hate it. It just the way that it felt coming through my teeth, which also sounds weird when I said that. We had a blonde moment. You had a blonde moment. Forgot about Dan Mullen. However, Lane Kiffin right now, regardless if Ole Miss fans want to believe it or not, he is going to be shopping himself around.
He's going to be terrific at Auburn
other
next
schools
year.
are going to be looking.
Lane Kiffin and Auburn is a hand-in-glove fit, and it sucks for Ole Miss, but Lane Kiffin's going to be great at Auburn, and I wish him luck.
I don't know if that's 100% the case. However, I wouldn't be surprised. This game to me is very much hey, you've got a team that won 10 games last year. They're rolling despite having not played anybody super decent yet.
Can I just say, I just think it's the fraud bowl. I think Kentucky's in the top 10, and they shouldn't be. Ole Miss is number 14. They haven't beaten anybody. They get to pretend this is a top 15 matchup, and I'm not sure it's going to prove out that either one of them are top 15 teams.
But I think that for Ole Miss.
I think Ole Miss is.
They could be. I think they're closer than Kentucky. And Ole Miss also has a tremendously friendly schedule for them. But
this is a chance for Ole Miss to be like, okay, like our own students aren't respecting this team.
Well,
watch what we can do.
Well, they weren't until Mincy showed up in the student section.
Yes,
now it's going to be
Chris
full.
Rodriguez is back for Kentucky. That will be a big addition to them. He's pretty much an NFL running back at this point. He's been there for a while.
I think Ole Miss will win the game. I said this in the college football show, which you have not watched yet if you're listening, unless you're listening after Saturday morning at 10 a.m. I did not respect Will Levis enough. With that being said, I don't think that he's as high up as Kentucky fans thought he was going to be. I just don't think he has to be.
I respect him the requisite amount. I knew how much to respect him, and I feel confident in that. Now, I would love for that motherfucker to go to Oxford and throw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. Oh. That would be terrific content for me in my eyes, and I would enjoy that. So go Will Levis, go Will Levis, go.
Brandon, it's October.
Yes.
And a lot of great things happen in October.
Yes.
It's also a great time to bring awareness to breast cancer.
We're coloring the town pink.
We are. October is breast cancer awareness, and Barstool is always in the mix. This year, 100% of our net proceeds of all of Barstool Sports Breast Cancer Awareness Collection is going to Pink Aid. Pink Aid is a really cool organization because not only do they help fund research to find a cure for breast cancer, they also provide compassionate support, critical resources, and emergency financial assistance to those who are battling breast cancer, for their patients, their families. You got to love an organization that just loves people.
Yeah, you really do. And again, 100% of all net proceeds from breast cancer awareness collection for Barstool will go towards Pink Aid, to a good cause. Shop now at the Barstool Sports Store.
Store.barstoolsports.com. There's a banner.
Yep.
But if you want to type it in for whatever reason, store.barstoolsports.com/collections/breast-cancer-awareness. Again, there's a huge banner. Lots of really cute stuff. Pink Whitney's doing stuff. Foreplay's doing stuff. Plan Brie. Mean Girls. And then just the new Barstool Sports, just like logoed hoodies and crop tops and crew necks are awesome. Again, 100% of net proceeds go to Pink Aid. That's store.barstoolsports.com.
Other games that we wanted to get to, we're going to get to Alabama-Arkansas because I think that one's very, very interesting. But I want to go to the Big 12. What were you pointing at?
Oklahoma State Baylor.
I was pointing at Oklahoma State Baylor too, if that's okay. Do you mind if I just say it out of my own teeth?
Well, you kept pulling my sheet away, and so I just pointed at where I thought the next game should be.
We have the Oklahoma Sooners. The Oklahoma State Cowboys. The Oklahoma State
That's why
Cowboys.
I was pointing, Brandon.
Number 9 Oklahoma State at number 16 Baylor. A rematch of last year's Big 12 championship game. And once again, every time we ever talk about these two teams playing for the rest of time, I will stop for a moment and wonder, how did that guy not score that 2-point conversion last year?
He took the worst route in the history of routes in terms of
he curved out and let the guy crash the angle on
He
it.
took his ways, and he looked at Waze and said, I want to go on the longest trip possible.
Yes.
I want to go on the trip that Waze doesn't even want to send me on.
Right.
Yeah, you had to. Yeah.
And when Waze says there's obstacles in your path, he's like, nope, that's still what I want.
I
want
Waze
give me the
know.
obstacle.
Waze doesn't know.
So Waze.
They don't know. I'm going to go right through this.
I will never
path.
know how that guy did not score that 2-point conversion to get to basically the playoff last year. Was it a 2-point conversion or a touchdown?
It was 2-point conversion.
That's right. Yeah.
And they would have been on playoff.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know what they would have decided, but they would have.
They would have been in the playoff.
I mean, that going into that weekend before that game, it was like, this is Oklahoma State's chance to not only win a conference title, but they will be in the college football playoff.
Thank God he didn't get there, because listening to Cincinnati fans for the next 12 years would have been the worst in the entire world.
They would have knocked out Cincinnati for sure, and you're right. It would have been very similar to the UCF won a national title.
Now they're playing this year.
Loud people.
Oklahoma State hasn't had to really beat anybody yet. They are cruising. They're winning, scoring 51 points a game. They look very good for what they're doing. But they lost to Baylor last year. Baylor already has the loss, the 2 overtime loss at BYU, which I think you can, I don't know if you can excuse it, but you can at least say, wow, a 2 overtime loss on the road against a ranked team. Huge early season matchup as we see which way the tumblers are going to go in the Big 12. Is it going to be Texas sticking around, Oklahoma sticking around? And this is a gigantic early season test to see which one of these two teams is going to take an early lead for maybe that Big 12 title game mix.
And Jack, a few seasons ago, was very high on Spencer Sanders. Spencer Sanders, and I want to say quietly, because I feel like from a national media standpoint,
I agree with you.
Nobody's really talking about it. He's quietly putting together a very good season. I mean, he has 916 yards, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception.
You're right. His problem is he hasn't played anybody. So if he comes out and is great today, he becomes like, we look at his numbers like, oh, wow, this guy's doing this. If he comes out and he plays poorly against the first good team he's played, then all of a sudden you have to revisit everything he's accomplished this year. Yes?
Well, yes, I agree with that. However, and I mean, it's more so where we were talking about him on the podcast versus where he was. It's like, I feel like Spencer Sanders, like, we acted as if like he just wasn't serviceable as a quarterback almost at all.
He also doesn't.
No.
He doesn't get the respect on this podcast that he deserves, and the fact that he might be the only player who's been around the entirety of this podcast. Have we ever had an Oklahoma State season where we weren't talking about Spencer Sanders?
It does feel like we talk about him.
Is there another guy who's been around?
Skylar Thompson, but he's not gone.
Well, no, that's Kansas State.
He's gone.
I know, but not say Oklahoma State.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, this guy's been
Tanner Morgan.
This might be the only. Yeah, Tanner Morgan.
Morgan, the only.
Those are podcast lifers.
Sean Clifford.
Yep.
The thing with Spencer Sanders, though, I think the reason he stands out of all the guys we could list is because of the hot takes that we've had that have involved Spencer Sanders.
We had an Sam Ehlinger against Spencer Sanders debate, full debate on the show, and it seems like Sam Ehlinger left college 5 years ago. He didn't, but it seems like he did.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying with Spencer Sanders.
I was Ehlinger, you were Sanders?
Yeah,
and I was
just
Ehlinger
got like
too.
really like we were not at a point of emotional maturity between the three of us, and we just started yelling.
Well, we're still not very emotionally mature.
Yeah, have we reached that now?
I think we're much better.
Well, also, not to bring up old shit, but there was also the argument between me and you. You had Sam Ehlinger, I had Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah, I won that one. I won that one. Going away. Going away, Noah. Just
Jalen Hurts is like quietly on the best team in the NFL right now.
Jalen Hurts is like a MVP candidate.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I never saw that
The
coming.
development that he's done, even since Oklahoma to now, is banana land.
Unbelievable.
And he doesn't turn the ball over anymore. But it's not an NFL quarterback.
Philadelphia is going to absolutely just implode if they continue to win. I mean, the Eagles are the best team in the NFL right now, and it's not just because
they'll disappoint their fans.
Well, the Dolphins are close.
We'll see tonight.
But the thing about
was going to be the Bills.
Well, they lost.
Bills
so
are pretty fucking good.
They are very good.
The Bills are the best team.
Bills
Yes.
are actually the best
Yes.
team, yeah.
All right.
But Jalen Hurts is playing out of his fucking mind.
What do you think about Oklahoma State Baylor? Which lean? Baylor's a 2-point favorite.
I'm taking Oklahoma State.
I kind of lean Oklahoma State too. I lean Oklahoma State. Gundy kind of dropped the ball last year with this game. I feel like they were the better team and they didn't win the game and they left an opportunity on the field. I feel like that's got to motivate you. Just got to push you into Baylor to kind of tear their throat out this time and not let it come down to something that it came down to.
That's the revenge game, and because Spencer Sanders is still the quarterback, and I know, we talked about this when we previewed the Big 12, was that Baylor had such high expectations because of winning the Big 12 last year, and Dave Aranda, also a phenomenal coach. I just feel like this is Oklahoma State's way to say, okay, what happened last year was a travesty, not just because of the game itself, because of everything that the dominoes that fell afterwards. When I look at just the quarterback situation, just the offense, I have more belief that Spencer Sanders will have a better game overall than Blake Shapen. Not to take anything away from Blake Shapen. However, I just think Oklahoma State is a better football team.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure about it either, but I also lean that way. I lean towards Oklahoma State being better. But again, Baylor has the one loss on the road. It was in 2 OTs. Could have gone either way. So
that was an awesome game.
We will absolutely see. This is a huge game. It's not 9 against 16. Again, the hierarchy of the Big 12, I think, could change week to week to week to week. And this will be a big early blow for somebody to land.
And how Mike Gundy / Oklahoma State would it be when you talk about the hierarchy of the Big 12 for them to win this game and keep rolling and then have everything in their hands and then lose at Bedlam?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Like
You're
that.
right,
That's
yeah.
the narrative that, unfortunately, for Oklahoma State fans, it might not always be against Oklahoma.
I think Oklahoma State even has a game after Bedlam this year. Like they could lose if they lost that game. That would be the most Oklahoma State thing ever.
Oh, absolutely. But it's like the way that they lost the Big 12 last year is a very Oklahoma State thing to do. It's like you have everything ahead of you
And
if you can just get this 2-point conversion. So to me, because of the history, it says take Oklahoma State. And I might just be almost being too hard on Baylor. If Baylor would have beat BYU, and I know it was close, obviously 2 overtimes, it was a crazy game, I might feel a little bit differently. I just think that it said, hey, you know what, Baylor is not as good as we thought they were going to be this year. And Oklahoma State has proven thus far, even though they haven't played many people, that they deserve to be in the conversation right there.
There is one game on this schedule that is making me think I'm taking crazy pills.
I think I know which one it is.
There's one game making me think, I'll tell you what. We all know the terrific 1997 movie Men in Black, correct?
Well, of course.
And when Tommy Lee Jones or Will Smith were investigating something and they didn't want the witness to know what, they took out their neuralizer and they did it. And I feel like Alabama football takes out a neuralizer or a deneuralizer every week and holds it up to college football fans' face and says, oh, there we go. Here's a new memory. We were actually great last week because they're playing on the road this week. They're 17.5-point favorites, and everybody you talk to says, well, Alabama's just going to kill Arkansas. Why?
Can I also double down on that?
Yeah.
Not only do they do it to college fans, they somehow do it to Vegas. They somehow take the proverbial Men in Black and they do it to everyone that talks about them, and then also whoever sets these lines, because is it still 17 and a half?
17 and a half, yeah.
It's 17 and a half right now, and I can't figure out why it's so high.
Here's why I'm saying that.
I would love for that to be true.
Alabama, people look at Alabama and they say, Alabama kills everybody. And they just don't. They really don't. And you got to get through this. Over the last 5 road games, again, they're an elite, so they don't have to play more than 4 or 5 road games in a year. Last year they had 4 road games. This year they have 1 so far. This is Alabama's last 5 road games. As a 3-touchdown favorite, they won 31-29 against Florida, a team so bad they fired their coach. They lost 41-38 to Zach Calzada and Texas A&M. They won by 40 against Mississippi State. That's irrelevant. Doesn't matter. They won by 2 against one of the worst Auburn teams we've seen in a long time with TJ Finley at quarterback. And then this year, they won 20-19 as 17-point favorites against the Texas Longhorns.
With Hudson Card.
With Hudson Card playing most of the game. This is a team, over the last 5 road games, has not played well at all outside of one game. Now, this game right here at Arkansas, this is the best team out of all of those in that stretch. This Arkansas team is better than every single team, I believe, with maybe the exception of Texas and Quinn Ewers. I believe they're better than every other team on that list. And they got to go to Fayetteville. Arkansas fans, I know they lost last week, but they'll be desperate. It'll be 80,000 of them. They'll be screaming.
Didn't lose last week.
It'll be an incredible. I did say that.
No, I said they didn't. Remember?
Oh, that's true. They lost last week. They're going to be desperate. They're going to be loud, and I just think this is a game that in the fourth quarter it's going to be like 17-17, and Bryce Young has to drive late to win. That's what I feel like. This feels like that to me.
So this is one of those. You have a college football betting brain game, and then you look at the actual stats on if Alabama, if it's 17-17 the fourth, Bryce Young has to have had the worst game he's had.
Well, here's what I think.
Arkansas secondary is so bad.
However, Arkansas's defensive line leads the country in sacks. They've done so against a schedule that hasn't been great, but they're still getting their defensive line is very physical. The strength of their defense is the front seven. If they're able to make Bryce Young hurry, if they're able to make him worry, if they're able to make him get happy feet, if they're able to make him throw a pick or two, they can keep Alabama in check.
I agree with that.
But their secondary is god-awful.
It's god-awful. But to Jack's point is that look at who they've played, and if you take just last week and it came
Did y'all get neuralized?
No. I'm taking Arkansas to cover the spread. Now, I do think Alabama will win. The thing with the conversation about getting to the quarterback is they're getting to quarterbacks that aren't Heisman Trophy winners. They're getting to quarterbacks that don't have the offensive line that Alabama has. And, you look at what happened against A&M. A&M was able to neutralize them for a few quarters. But you're still talking about A&M's offense. The thing about this spread, though, to me, is that I'm not Vegas. I don't understand. All the stats that you just mentioned, you go through the last 5 road games. You look at how Alabama's been playing this year, and then you look at Arkansas, I can't figure out where they're finding 17.5 points.
I really can't. I really can't. I think they're a better team. I think they're going to win the game. But if you looked on paper and at the stats, in every single game that's already on that road list,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You would say, oh, Alabama's going to do this to this team. They're going to do that to this team. They're going to run this. They're going to pass this. They're going to do everything. And that hasn't proven true in any of them. If you've got 5 straight road games over a year and a half period and 4 of them are bad, something's weird.
Something's weird. I do think, and I'm not taking away what happened in Arlington, but I do think the one thing, too, that is a credit to Arkansas is I don't think you're going to see KJ Jefferson leaping from the 5-yard line and fumbling a touchdown.
But it would be hilarious if he did.
Well, of course. I don't think you're going to see the mistakes that were made as prevalent. Now, of course, making mistakes against Alabama is a different story because it's Alabama. But those little things that shifted that game, against A&M, I don't see happening. However, Alabama's a better team, but I just don't think they're a better team by that many points. I just
think this is a tremendous upset watch right here. It's a desperate Arkansas team. I think Alabama's probably going to win a close game. But, boy, it wouldn't just shock me that Arkansas won this game. They're not a bad football team. They were a fraudulent top 10 team. But I think, if you're going on the road to face number 17 this week, you worry about that game. And I don't know. I think Arkansas keeps this very close. 17.5 is absurd. Absolutely the height of absurdity to me. So
I think the height of absurdity is true, but I think I will be on Arkansas plus the points by kickoff. That being said,
it could be 28-0 with 3 minutes left in the first
I have
quarter,
a vision while I'm closing my eyes right now and looking at you of Bryce Young going up 28-3 at half.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean if it's 28-3 at half, Arkansas could still cover. 17.5 is a lot of points.
A lot of points.
But I'm really concerned that this is a Bama reminder game that it's like, wait, but Their last 5 road games, that's a damning stat. And 17.5 points is a lot of points.
There is one reminder game in there of how good they were. That was when they won 49-9. I can't see what the opponent was.
And I think their offensive line has been pretty good this year. I know there's been some moments against Texas, but
this is a game too where, and again, I'm not saying this because of my beef with Arkansas fans. I said this on the college football show. I'll repeat myself. I'm not going to respect the Twitter fan base, but I have to respect the Razorbacks, and I have to respect Sam Pittman, because how can you not at this point? However, when you look at before this season, this was the game they had circled that was going to be their first test. Yeah. This was the game that Arkansas fans were like, well, we're going to be undefeated and the tide comes to Fayetteville. I don't know in this situation if losing last week hurts them or helps them in that. It leans towards being like, well, if they would have won, then the letdown would have been much worse losing to Alabama. It's like, does the hungry dog run faster? I think that this Arkansas team playing for Sam Pittman, they will get back up regardless of what happened last week. Regardless of the noise that you're hearing.
Where's game day this week?
Clemson.
Oh, that makes sense. Is the weather not going to chase them to somewhere else?
Nope. Don't think so.
Fair enough. All right, so let's just go ahead and climb into the slate.
Do you want to talk about Wake Forest State for a ranked game? Or
we when we get to them in the slate, we will. Let's just go ahead and dive in because we've already gone to like 5-10 already. But Friday night, there's one big game that's going to tell the tale in the Pac-12 of who survives and has an undefeated record through 5 games. Washington is 4-0. UCLA is 4-0. They got there in different ways. Washington with a couple of decent wins. UCLA hasn't really been tested by a decent team. They escaped against South Alabama. But UCLA just is a scary – if I'm a Washington fan and I had Penix transfer in and he's been the best quarterback in the country statistically so far, like I'm playing with house money, I feel like, because I didn't expect it, but I got to be scared to death of a Friday night trip to Southern California. That just terrifies me. I'd rather be going to the surface of the sun than going to Southern California and playing this game.
It is, especially because it's Friday. I don't know what it is about Friday night games in this spot, but you just don't want to be there.
Let me ask you all a question.
Okay.
You know, UCLA has been the site of some funny photos this year because UCLA fans just have not come to games. This is a ranked team, undefeated matchup. Will UCLA at least put up a fight with the fans?
No.
Because if they don't hear, I don't know how you ever build anything out there. I mean, how many,
game at the end of the – what time does this game start?
It's on a Friday night at like 7:30 their time.
That really sucks for me. That starts at 10:30.
If UCLA was ranked, I would say yes.
You'll be working throughout
I'm going to obviously stay up for this because it's a great game. And then next morning, Arsenal Tottenham's at 7:30. I live such a brutal life.
Oh, man.
But
you okay?
Yeah, I'll be all right. Don't worry. But I'm concerned. If I'm Washington, I'm concerned that UCLA can run all over me. That being said, I don't know what to do with this game. I think I'll probably be on UCLA.
I'm going to be on UCLA. To me, it's obvious UCLA. It's obvious UCLA. It's a Friday night. It's Washington's a very short favorite.
You see, UCLA, if UCLA wins this game, UCLA all of a sudden and Chip Kelly are like, wait a second,
they'll be 5-0 and they'll be in really really good shape.
Schedule.
It's also Washington's first non-home game.
That is true
for this season.
To answer your question about putting fans, getting fans in the stadium
next week. Then Oregon. This is a brutal stretch for UCLA.
If UCLA was ranked, and this was a ranked matchup, I feel like there would be a little bit more hype. But I feel like
they're about as close to being ranked as possible.
But do UCLA that casual UCLA fans care about that? That's the question. Like
that's a good question.
A lot of people at different schools would care about that. UCLA, it's just hard to get people there in general. If it was like a top 10 game and they didn't show up, that would be the worst.
No, UCLA only has 3 votes.
What the fuck?
Well, I mean, they haven't been all that impressive yet, but this is the game where they can
lost to South Alabama.
They can go grab all the votes now. If they win this game, their little win against South Alabama doesn't matter. They're Bowling Green, A&M-State, none of that matters. If they win this game, all of a sudden you can't ignore them, and it would set them up at 5-0 and ranked with Utah coming in next week.
They have 3 ranked in a row.
Yeah, October's brutal for them.
All right, so let's just go to the noon slate, and we'll go through it. But before we do that,
maybe
I feel like it should be time now. We're almost an hour into this thing.
I think we're longer than an hour.
I think maybe night slate.
Night slate before the night slate.
I have an idea.
After 3:30.
No, I have an idea. We'll talk about it at around the 3:30 because I have a good way to lead into why we're doing it.
All right, the noon slate on Saturday.
Spoiler.
You've got. This is the first day I think is loaded on the front, loaded in the middle, loaded on the back. Okay.
I love when they're loaded in the front and the back.
I was saying that's a good build right there, baby.
Relax, horn dogs. Just anyway, you've got Michigan at Iowa, which is not really inherently a big game, but it could turn into one very quickly. It's one of those games.
100%.
See, I actually disagree. I think it's a big game inherently.
Because Michigan, after beating Maryland only by 7, they got a little prove it to them.
Yes, to me, this game is huge for the people. Shout out our guy Brad that get mad.
It's not our guy.
He's my guy.
He can be your guy. I don't care if I ever hear his name again.
Okay, well, for the people that have the same thought process.
I'm on Brad's side these days because he helped me out against the 70 IQ Spartan Tribe.
I don't care. I'm not.
So actually, the 76.3% acceptance rate Spartan Tribe.
There you go. I love the stats. The people that think like him, where it's like, if you talk about Michigan's schedule, you're disrespecting Michigan. This game is huge for those people on either side of the argument because the non-conference schedule was garbage. We know that. I don't think that matters. What does matter is if you have that non-conference schedule and then you go out and you only beat Maryland, who I understand is better this year, but you only beat them by 7. You only beat Iowa by 7. If Michigan can go out and beat Iowa the way that I think that they should, and again, that's based off of the way I think this team should be by the end of the year, then that argument to me goes out the window. Do you want to talk about, if you're a Michigan fan and you want the non-conference schedule debate to die, you beat the shit out of Iowa.
When you're walking through a cow pasture, it's really uneventful unless you step into a big pile of cow shit. And Michigan, if they get through here without any shit on their feet, it's very uneventful. But they might step in a bunch of shit because Iowa, and that was beautiful, by the way. That's the most beautiful picture I've ever painted.
Pretty gross, but
you've got Iowa here, who I think, and this is rare for me to say, maybe people have thrown them a little too far into the deep end of the trash pile than they should have. Like they lost to Iowa State, but this is still an elite of the elite defense. If they could ever just string together 2 touchdowns offensively, they can be a pretty good team. I think it's almost a no-win situation for Michigan. But if you go in there, you win by 3 touchdowns, fine. I just think this is going to might be one of those noon games that at 3 o'clock you're like, oh my God, this might happen.
I just don't know.
Kinnick Stadium's not easy, man.
Yeah, it's a weird place, and thank God this isn't at night. If this was at night, I'd feel a little bit different. I just don't know how Iowa scores on Michigan.
Right.
Like I mean, I guess turnovers, which they do. They did it last
week. They had two
against
defensive
Rutgers.
touchdowns against Rutgers.
But if they don't do that, I don't know. I think this is one of those. It's like, all you guys complaining about the out-of-conference schedule, it doesn't really matter. Michigan's really
that's
good.
what I think.
You think this could be a spot? You think this could be a spot where you mentally trick yourself into thinking Iowa's got a chance there at home, good defense, and then you look up and Michigan's handling business.
Yes, because the matchup, like this Iowa offense is so bad. You look at the final score and you say, they beat Rutgers 27-10. Rutgers didn't play bad in that game.
Michigan.
They had like some brutal, like if they just punted the ball instead of throwing pick sixes, that's a 13-10 final. Iowa could not move the ball on Rutgers. And Rutgers has a pretty good defense, which is why I think my play of the week is Rutgers plus the points against Ohio State. We can get into that when they come up. I have no Fordham, Ohio over like I did in the past.
Damn.
That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that was laid on, and I hope everybody took advantage of it.
How many points does Michigan have to score against Iowa for you guys to be like, okay, Michigan's offense is very good?
Well, not all that many, because I think Iowa is an elite defense. So if Michigan goes in there, scores 21, and wins 21-3, I think all parties should be happy.
Definitely have to cover.
I think Michigan has the personnel offensively to score against even the best defenses. Mm-hmm. So I would expect maybe
it's a big game for JJ.
That 21-3, 24-10 schedule made a lot of sense to me.
The biggest matchup here that I'm looking forward to is JJ against that secondary.
Yeah.
How does he do? Because we know Blake Corum's going to probably get put up 120 yards on 18 carries.
JJ was given the job against a bad team and has succeeded against bad teams. Now he has to go against a great defense in a hostile environment. This is the first big test for him as the Michigan starting quarterback.
And I agree with everything that Jack has said, and it's just echoing that this game, like you said, we could look up at 3 o'clock and be like, what the hell's going on? Or we could look up and be like, well, yeah, so now every single September narrative outside of Ann Arbor can be quieted now because they've handled their business against a team who, as bad as their offense is, has a very good defense, and they were supposed to handle their business.
It is the noon slate. Again, I think it's loaded right from the beginning. You've got Michigan at Iowa. You've got Kentucky, number 7, against number 14, Ole Miss, down there at Vaughn Hemingway. You've got number 18, Oklahoma, at an undefeated TCU team. You've got Purdue at Minnesota, and Minnesota seems to be taking control of that Big Ten West. This is probably their biggest test in the Big Ten West. It's kind of a low-key game here.
Aiden O'Connell might not play for Purdue.
Yeah, if he doesn't, then it's not that big of a game.
I think Illinois is sneaky decent.
We'll see. Kansas State and Texas Tech. That's both teams coming off a gigantic win last week when Texas Tech beat Texas. Kansas State obviously beat Oklahoma. That's an 8.5-point spread. Seems a little weird. That seems like a classic Big 12 game to me.
By the way, side note, I know we didn't talk a lot. I don't think we've talked about it at all. I think Oklahoma is going to kill TCU.
No.
Yes.
Frogs up.
When did you become Mr. TCU?
This offseason, I said they were going to be the.
That's your team to ride all year.
Well, you took Penn State from me without even asking.
I did not take Penn State.
No
from you.
consent. I gave you no consent.
Damn.
But anyways,
I'm king of college football, Jack.
I know. I'm just thankful to be here.
Also,
talking
about Penn State and consent is tough.
Just relax.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Shout out Kayce. She's always on top of the game. That being said, this is a big one for me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. This game to me. We've talked about it. I think we talked about it on Tuesday. Oklahoma. This is my pick of the week. I could be wrong,
okay.
but Oklahoma losing.
Let me tell you,
last week makes this so much better. And TCU, I know they beat SMU. That's also a rivalry game. You had the Sonny Dykes storyline. Oklahoma is going to kick the shit out of them.
Let me tell you. So last week was classic Oklahoma. Oklahoma coming off the win over Nebraska and then getting physically bullied and just beaten and embarrassed by Kansas State at home. That's classic Oklahoma. That's classic Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma. However, you know what else is classic Oklahoma over recent years is going to somebody's house who thinks they're in the same ballpark, thinks they can win, and just beating the piss out of them. Like Oklahoma has that in their golf bag. That's one of their clubs, is to just go tear the heart out of somebody who thinks they're having a good year.
That's TCU.
But TCU's torn the heart out of Oklahoma in the past. So is Chandler Morris.
But
in the past, fine. But
I know what you're saying.
This OU team is not SMU. We know that. And again, I'm not taking the win over SMU away from TCU, because anytime you play a rival that hates each other with the coach situation, fine. OU losing last week should absolutely terrify TCU.
I tell you what, it's also, we talk about good early tests, good tests for guys. This is a terrific early test as a head coach for Brent Venables. You get beat at home by a team you should be beating, and now you have to go on the road against an up-conference rival who's going to be absolutely cheering for your head to be torn off. If he's able to get this team to rally and play Oklahoma football and be good, Brent Venables passes an early test. Now, if they go down there and get beat, I don't know if the conversation changes at all.
I think we're sitting here on Saturday night and we're like, wait a second,
Brent Venables.
And then the Oklahoma tweets we're getting, not as much. They're kind of like, ugh.
Yeah.
And then that game against Texas in a few weeks is a big one.
And you're going to get the one message board genius from you're going to get the one message board post online that goes viral from Oklahoma Twitter, like, hey, maybe Lincoln wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
We got Lincoln's number still.
Like
maybe the
Dion?
culture changed.
Yeah, Dion. Yeah, Dion? Question mark.
Yeah, Dion. Yeah.
All right, so that's your early slate. You've got Texas Tech, Kansas State, Georgia State Army, Illinois, Wisconsin. Oregon State's at Utah in kind of the bridge. They'll play at 2 p.m. on the Pac-12 network. But Utah, a real good chance to solidly get themselves back on their feet after the Florida win. They're number 12. They got Oregon State coming in. USC's coming in a couple of weeks. Interesting matchup there. And Oregon State just played USC to a hilt. How will they do on the road against Utah? We move to the 3:30 slate. 2:30 Central Time, 1:30 Mountain, 12:30 Pacific.
That is how time works, yes.
Wouldn't mind going out to the West Coast and taking a day of football. Starting at 9 a.m.
See, I like the night games. Like,
I hate waking up at 9 a.m. and then football's 3 hours away.
But that being said, you'd have to go out to the West Coast for a little bit to accumulate to waking up in the time zone.
I don't want games.
Accumulate?
Definitely not.
Assimilate.
Acclimate.
Who cares? I make up a word every podcast.
Name three others you've made up.
Oh, you
remember that one I made? What was that word I made up? Fuck. People were commenting.
I loved it.
Commented on it. I forgot.
All right. So that's where we have at 3:30 on the CBS game.
Alabama, Arkansas.
Alabama
is that the Big Ten music?
Shut up. It's still SEC for now.
Rutgers, Ohio State.
Okay.
Alabama's at Arkansas. Rutgers at Ohio State. Poor
Jack has something to
Rutgers.
say.
I love Rutgers plus 40.5.
Why?
Because, and this goes back to something we've brought up in this podcast. Big Ev has told you multiple times. Ohio State doesn't like to run
The
up
last
score,
time he said that,
which is true.
The last time he said that, they won 77-21.
Yes, but that wasn't against Greg Schiano that Ryan Day loves. And
That was against one of his old coaches, wasn't it?
Toledo.
Yeah, I think so. I think there was somebody on that staff or the head coach was not Jason Candle, but somebody. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Georgia had that with.
Yeah, they did, but I'm just saying. Whatever.
All I'm going to say is last week I loved Rhode Island plus 33, and that was because Pat Narduzzi went to Rhode Island, and he knew the coaches, and he talks so much, so glowingly about them. Ryan Day loves him some Greg Schiano, and Rutgers has the defense to slow down Ohio State. Plus 40.5. That's a lot of points. Let's go, Rutgers. Chop on. That's not yours, Michigan State.
That's also where we have the 3:30 window. Oklahoma State's at Baylor in a game we previously talked about. Northwestern's at Penn State, who continues to climb up. Northwestern continues to descend.
Wait. Have you gotten there yet?
No, I'm almost there.
Okay.
We have a couple of games to talk
Okay.
about before I get there. Okay. So we've got also in a game that is low-key maybe as good as any game this week. Wake Forest is at Florida State, and we're about to find out. Wake Forest, how good are they? They just took Clemson to overtime. I think they're very good offensively, very good with Sam Hartman. If Florida State handles their business against Wake Forest, Florida State is somebody to pay attention to.
Yes.
Because they're 4-0 now. They just had their best game of the season by killing Boston College. You know, they squeaked by Louisville with so many injuries. They squeaked by LSU. But they are 4-0. If they go 5-0 with a win over Wake Forest, with NC State and Clemson coming up back-to-back on the schedule, Florida State's at least somebody you got to go into October accounting for.
Oh,
And,
100%, 100%.
Yes, 100%. And, I mean, again, we talked about the Clemson game, but Wake Forest defense is not terrible. Wake Forest defense is playing all right.
No, DJ Uiagalelei just threw for 500 yards.
Well, Clemson's got elite talent. Like Wake Forest is a good team, though, and Wake Forest is always going to score points.
I'm not saying that
They
they're
left 36 against Liberty.
they're not terrible.
I don't think they're as bad as they
not
were
as bad
last
as
year.
UNC.
But my point is that if Jordan Travis can go in and light that defense up,
Yeah.
which like you just mentioned, DJ did. If Jordan Travis can kind of recreate what DJ did, not only is Florida State riding high, I mean, Jordan Travis should be skyrocketing up. Maybe not to the top of Heisman lists, but I mean, definitely getting on the because list, if not getting more attention than that.
Well, I don't think he plays at a because list team, but if he did, he's going to matter. Yeah, he's really playing his way into the upper echelon of college football quarterbacks.
Because Wake Forest, like, yes, they're giving up points. I understand that, but like it's not some schlep of a defense. It's not this terrible defense. If he can even like kind of put up numbers like DJ, Jordan Travis, watch out.
Yeah, I agree. That's your 3:30 slate. We move on. We're going to Texas A&M, Mississippi State at 4:00.
Okay, so is it time?
Do we think Kansas wins and continues their 5-0 streak? Iowa State?
We have Kansas, Iowa State. I don't know that I do think that. I think Iowa State's really good. And
Believe.
I want to believe in Kansas. We'll see. Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a game, and I would love for them to be 5-0 come Sunday.
Believe.
All right, so we got Mississippi State A&M at 4:00.
So is it time?
Howard, you want to tell a story before I say what?
Yes.
Okay.
So the reason that this is happening with very little to no, what's the word I'm looking for? Preparation.
Right.
This is happening with little preparation because on Wednesdays when we are in New York and we're not traveling for the college football show, we record the college football show. Yesterday, the A&M Mississippi State game was brought to the table, and Dan, Big Cat, pardon my take, may have heard of it, immediately brought up that we should do a bet. He then said, okay, well, if Mississippi State wins, Brandon should get to name the baby. And what proceeded after that was just, by all parties involved, including myself, just a blatant disregard that we had not announced what the gender was
all
publicly.
the baby names happen to be one gender.
And the pronouns were just flying around, and it wasn't like a mistake. So I immediately realized as we were talking about this, I think I was in the middle of a sentence talking about it. I said, all right, well, by the time this airs on Saturday morning at 10 a.m., we will have made the official announcement on unnecessary roughness. Now, let me also preface this by, there's probably a lot of people out there that do not care.
Right.
I don't care if you do not care.
Yep.
This is my podcast. And I'm going to double down. Brandon got a cookie for not spoiling that I was pregnant in the first place.
Yep.
Brandon's also going to get another cookie because he's not spoiled the gender.
Right.
So Brandon,
Yep.
you and Kate,
Yep.
lovely Barstool Kate,
Yep.
planned this huge thing.
Uh-huh.
So why don't you tell me how you're going to reveal the gender of my child, not me, because that was
Here
weird.
is how I'm going to reveal it. I'm going to do something that's unheard of in 2022. It's always go bigger, go bigger, go bigger, go bigger. Could be a cake, could be a hot air balloon dropping blue or pink smoke somewhere.
It could start forest fires.
It could start forest fire. Who knows what would happen? So here's what I'm going to do, something unheard of in 2022. But to reveal the gender of Kayce's baby, I'm simply going to say what it is.
And you know what? That goes along with how I found out, because my doctor asked us, do you want somebody to come pick up an envelope? Can we email somebody? And I said, no, I think that you should just tell us. And just the two of us celebrated. So Brandon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kayce Smith, in 2023 in February, that's the due date, she is expected to have, and Unnecessary Roughness is going to have, a beautiful baby boy. It's a boy. That's what it is. Blue shirt. You shouldn't have done that because
I didn't even think
people
about that.
now know what it is. A boy. We've got a boy.
We
a
do.
boy, little boy on the way for Kayce Smith and her family. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. My boyfriend has been
A
very
boy mom.
which I needed to be, because if I had a little me,
Right.
it's probably karma.
No, we agree.
I will tell you this. My boyfriend gets very excited when we go to the doctor's visits because you can see
The penis.
The penis, yes.
Yeah.
And my son is very open with showing us his penis.
Yeah.
A lot of babies like to close
Right.
their legs, and sometimes you don't know until they're born. No, sir. Proud of it.
Proud Aggie. Congratulations. You're going to be
you.
a hell of a
Thank
boy
you.
mom.
Unnecessary roughness needed a
We did. We needed a
another
little boy.
You have three. So
I do, but I tell you what, my first child was a girl, and I
Yes.
loved her, and
Loved.
I love her. I loved her. When I got her, it was just incredible. But my wife will tell you the story when we went to our ultrasound for our second kid. And I was the first ultrasound when they said it was a girl, I was like, oh, that's wonderful. She's healthy. Good. That's fantastic. When she pointed to the corner of the screen and said, look at that. And I looked at it and I was like, I did an end zone dance, a touchdown dance. Yes, we got it. We got it. We got it. And you got it. It's a boy. I'm sure it's fantastic.
That's the one thing that I was sad that I didn't get on camera was the reaction, because you know when you see gender reveals and dads get really excited when the color turns blue. My boyfriend, whenever, because we got the blood test, which you can do now, we got that at my apartment, so it was just the two of us. But whenever we could finally see on the ultrasound that it is in fact a boy, I wish there was a camera on him, because I was just praying. I was sitting there in the back of my head being like, please don't say something about you thinking that penis size is what you think it is in front of this doctor. Please wait till we get outside.
Yep.
Men, they're so proud of their sons.
We have to. Yep, we
they're
have
proud
to.
of their sons even at 20 weeks.
So,
Katie,
Jimbo,
it's crazy.
for the class of 20,
50 probably.
no, 2043, 2041, 2042, somewhere in there. We have the first 5-star Aggie recruit for.
I've already got him at an A&M baseball onesie.
Yes, please.
We do come from a baseball family, and by we I mean not me.
And
half of his genetics are baseball.
I am accepting all gifts for Kayce. Just send them to me at Barstool, and I will give them to her like they were from me.
Well, they technically are for you because it's a podcast.
From me.
Oh, from
I will
you.
take credit for all of the gifts that people send me to give to you. That is my promise
I'll
to you
know you
right
didn't
now.
get them. I heard you call your mother today and ask her what she wanted for her birthday.
Yep.
Well, her birthday's like in a while.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, regardless,
It's
for
Saturday.
those of
I asked
you,
her what she wanted for Saturday. Her birthday's
Yes.
Saturday.
Yeah, it is Saturday. It's
Your
literally-
birthday's coming up.
It is.
My birthday, or my mom's birthday, is on Sunday.
Happy birthday, Jack Mac's mom.
Wait, what's today?
29th.
Yeah,
September.
it's Saturday is your mom's birthday.
Oh, okay.
Is it the first?
It is the first. That's the only reason I know it's Saturday. Also, Laura and Reese Rutledge birthday is on Sunday. They share a birthday. So thank you
Today's
for
my
everybody who does.
No, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that stinks. I didn't think about
Oh,
that. Whatever.
it's his dad's
Okay.
birthday. Thank
Yeah.
you for that announcement, Brandon. I'm sorry.
It is a boy. It is
It's a
a
boy.
beautiful,
It's a boy.
bouncing baby boy. At least that's what we think until it can pick out its pronouns when it's 4 years old.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I know.
No, 4. Yeah, that
Well,
may be too late.
All right, Jack, just relax. I was just
Yeah.
trying to get him riled up a little bit. I got it. That was easy. That was I had the little string on his back.
Oh, yeah,
Just
no,
pull
it
it
was-
every now and then.
The public school teacher will determine the gender.
And also,
of the
apologies to all the people who looked at Brandon's
And it'll be put on
strangely
TikTok.
worded tweet and thought I was going to take my pants off today.
Oh my God.
I'd like to tell you right now, her pants are not on. She's not wearing pants.
I'm not wearing pants, especially if you're watching on YouTube.
None of us are wearing pants. It's
yes,
it's Pants-Free Thursday.
I do apologize.
Which Noah started, which I thought was weird.
Well, yeah, Noah just came in here just ass naked.
He walked in and said, "Listen, if I'm going to be a producer, we're not wearing pants on Thursdays."
Yeah, hey.
Okay,
You know all right.
You got it, boss.
Yeah, no,
We're
it's your-
family. We're family. In
You
here.
are driving the ship, buddy. At night you have LSU Auburn, which all right, that game is goes back all the way to the 90s with weirdness. They had a fire game. They had all kinds of weird stuff in that rivalry. So if anything weird has happened, meme-worthy's happened, it's probably happening in Auburn, Alabama this weekend. I don't think a loss to LSU does the trick for Harsin.
So what A.J. McCarron
Unless
said
it's
he's
like-
already fired.
I think a blowout
Yes.
loss
Blowout.
a blowout loss could do it.
Well, yeah, A.J. McCarron apparently, like Jack just mentioned, has said that they've already fired him, but he might not know it or something like that.
Yeah.
Then a lot of Auburn beat reporters were like, everything I'm hearing is not true.
This game, by the way, got Les Miles fired.
Yes.
Did.
Yeah, this
Yes,
was
it
the
did.
Is that our bet? So every week so far, we've had a Power 5 head coach fired. Is Brian Harsin our pick for this week?
If he gets
he
blown
has to
out,
be
yes.
close. He has to be very. I don't see who, unless somebody's caught with a dead girl or something
Jesus.
else. You have NC State, Clemson. We already talked about. West Virginia's at Texas. Time for Texas to start playing like Texas ought to be playing. That's from me to you, Longhorns. Get right out there. This slate even goes into like a little bit of Sunday. Arizona State, USC is late. Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh. Oh my God, Georgia Tech, they're so bad. Pittsburgh, by the way, kind of laying in the weeds. Their schedule now and after this, Georgia Tech, they might not lose an ACC game. Their schedule is pathetic. They play in the easier division, which is
So they have to play Miami, Boston College.
Correct.
Louisville,
Coastal.
or Virginia Tech.
Yeah, they do not. At Virginia, like they might not lose again, and that's a
That
team.
would be the second straight.
You could look up, and they're in the ACC title mix in a couple of weeks, and you didn't see it coming. All right, so there's your slate. There's your football. There's
Great
your
Saturday.
announcement.
It's going to be a great Saturday, Brandon.
I'm so happy it's a boy.
And then SMU,
I am
UCF
too.
is on.
You know what else I'm happy?
Sunday.
Because Jack, people think Jack spoiled it by saying it was a girl a couple of weeks ago when he didn't even know what it was.
I think people thought he said it was a boy.
I thought they thought you said it was a girl.
Some people have said, I've said
You spoiled it both ways?
Yeah, but I did. I guess someone tweeted at me today and said I spoiled it and gave me the quote. And I said, at that point I didn't know what it was. I did know, but I wasn't going to spoil it before we said it today.
No,
but I think I also, some people have tweeted at me, it's like, way to go, telling everyone that Casey's having a girl. I just didn't respond to that because, like,
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of "it's a girl"
What's he
comments,
saying
but
now?
I kind of thought that it was because you said she's going to reveal her gender.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought all the "it's a girl" thing was about me personally. I
And
don't know, maybe I just, the tweet threw people off. That's
Casey
all.
Smith has said that if Mississippi State wins by 10 points or more, I
do
get to
not.
name the kid.
Absolutely
so,
not. That is
that
not-
is something
That
is
is too
I get to
permanent,
name-
sir.
I get the if it's 10 points, I get the first name. If it's 20 points, I get both names.
If A&M was favored by like 35, 40 points, then I might say, okay, if Mississippi State wins, then you can name the kid.
That'd be electric.
How much was App State favored by? Or the underdog?
17.
17. That's not close. You can't fuck around with that. I wouldn't have made that bet. I'm talking.
So
it
it
has
has
to
to
be
be in the 30s.
It has to be like a college football spread.
Alabama Vanderbilt.
No,
that-
it's like Alabama, Utah
Vanderbilt.
State.
And then Utah State beats them. That's what would have had to happen if you were going to name my kid.
Triple Batman.
Listen, all I'm asking for is to not scare him in the womb with your cowbells. That would
Well,
be
I
so
won't-
rude
I
and
won't-
hateful, Uncle Brandon.
And Casey Smith, you're going to be, I've said it before, you're going to be a wonderful mother to this son.
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
And we can't wait to see him. Yeah, so there you go.
Thank you.
All right, so
Look at that
there's
little Brandon heart showing everybody.
everybody shut up.
There he goes.
Anyway, there you go. There's unnecessary roughness. There's college football. We'll see you Saturday night.
Saturday we'll be streaming, baby.
4 p.m. Eastern.